to a show.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Off the Mats podcast. And today on the podcast, I would like to welcome Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, which most guests are, I guess. I don't know why I open that way, because I mean, most of the folks who come on here do Jiu-Jitsu. But anyhow, we encountered each other through Instagram, and I've reposted a couple posts by this individual, and I was like, you know what, this is actually some pretty interesting, conversation points here. So I would like to welcome to the podcast today, Ms. Emmy Miller. Welcome, Emmy, and how are you?
What's up? Thank you so much for having me. I am very good and excited to chit chat with you tonight.
Well, good. I'm excited to converse as well. I like to say converse and not conversate, because people say, "Oh yeah, we were conversating," and it's like that's not a word. It's conversing. So I'm thrilled to converse with you as well. So I guess to start off, I'd like to, get to know about your jiu-jitsu journey to start off. For those who may not know, such as myself, what got you started in jiu-jitsu in the first place?
The way I started jiu-jitsu was kind of random. I had done karate for quite a while as a kid, and when I was 25, I had kind of a weird calling that I needed to get back into a martial art, and decided to take like some boxing lessons at a UFC gym. And one of the instructors there was like, "Hey, you should just try a jiu-jitsu class." And I was used to wearing a gi from karate, so kind of seeing that aspect was semi-familiar to me. And I happened to try it, and I really liked it. And before I knew it, it kind of took over my life, to be honest with you. Started training and competing, and never looked back after, especially once I started teaching. So
Okay, cool.
yeah,
So kind of the standard, like, hey, once I got out there, fell in love with it, and here we are.
yeah.
Huh. Well, cool. And your Instagram page, Nogi Chun-Li,
Yeah, Nogi Chun-Li.
Street Fighter.
Street Fighter. Yeah.
Got it.
I also kind of watched a documentary that said if you have things that rhyme, your brain believes it to be true. And I thought it was fun, so I kind of just put it together. But people always assume I'm like a really big Street Fighter video game nerd or something like that.
What's funny is, like, when I looked at it, like, I don't know what I thought it said. I was just like, just a bunch of letters meshed together. And then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, Nogi Chun-Li. I guess I should have put that together earlier, but yeah, I looked and saw it. I was like, oh, Street Fighter fan. Okay, cool. That's like cool. But the rhyming thing makes sense too. So
Yeah, it's a
whichever.
fun little moniker. I've been rocking with it for a while, so here we
Hey,
are.
if it works, it works. You keep running with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, your Instagram page, it's really cool because it does have kind of like a good mix of humor and practical mat etiquette, because that's what really caught my eye the first time. I was like, how to train as a visitor to another gym, and I was like, dude, that's so important, especially when we think about the community aspect of jiu-jitsu. And it's like a lot of us visit other gyms, compete, things like that. So I was like, dude, this is a really good post. And some would think, oh, this should be common sense, but sometimes folks need to be reminded of a lot of the stuff. So like, what kind of kicked you off into, like, saying, hey, let me teach these fools some knowledge out here?
Oh, that's funny. So I do a lot of graphic design work in my professional life, or I'm starting to shift more into that lane. And I kind of just had a wild inspiration to create that style post. And I think it was something like what I wish I knew at every belt rank. I got my black belt in July, and it kind of is an interesting feeling. And the things that I've been processing from it, I wanted to kind of verbalize and put out more for other people. and that posted so well. I was very surprised. It like really kind of struck me like, really, this is the thing that's gonna kind of catch fire. And I decided to do the How to Roll series. I'm really fortunate that I've gotten to train not only all over the United States, but also outside of the country, specifically in Japan. And I thought the How to Roll as a visitor concept was something that most people would probably be able to assume. But like you said, a lot of things these days that you would believe to be common sense are not so common. So I kind of just had some fun with the format and highlighting some of the places that I've gotten to train at as a visitor. And it was just a fun little guide that also did a lot better than I anticipated it to. But also sharing a lot of the training stories that I've had has been a highlight when I'm talking to other people, especially when they're looking to start training other places, or they just so happen to be dropping in because they're traveling for work or whatever the case may be. And for me, that's become kind of one of my favorite ways to travel, like dropping in somewhere, especially if you can do no gi because you don't need to carry around a gi with you. It's been something I really enjoy. So I wanted to talk about it with other people.
Well, cool. I'm glad that you put it out there because again, I think in a lot of cases as white belts, that's really, really helpful for, white belts and even blue belts too, because I always think of blue belt as just an advanced white belt. So, I'm a blue belt. So it's one of those things where like, we're still learning, we sometimes white belt might ask us a question. I'm like, oh, you think I know? Well, let me tell you. But, that kind of information I think is super important just because sometimes you go somewhere and you just, you don't think. And I've seen videos recently of, I believe it was like a purple belt visiting somewhere, and he like slammed one of the white belts.
Ooh.
And I was like, dude, what are you doing? You're visiting. Yeah. Just be cool. So maybe white belts, blue belts, and the occasional purple belt could use that visiting etiquette, perhaps.
Yeah, a little reminder. You'd be surprised though, like some of the wild experiences I've had training would be like a higher rank. Every once in a while one slips through there, you know what I mean? But when I look at the jiu-jitsu ranks, I almost equate it to like when you're looking at a pool. So I see the white belts as like they're kind of barely in the shallow end. They have like one limb submerged, whereas like the blue belts are a little bit more like waist deep. They've kind of gotten in there where, purple belts, they're kind of swimming and stuff like that, so on and so forth. So it's kind of interesting when you look at like the knowledge that you would acquire when it comes to like etiquette or manners simply from the time that you've spent on the mats. It's interesting when you start thinking of it like that, especially when we we start looking at situations. Like I was thinking the other day, like why did I acquire mat manners, or why is this something I've even like been cognizant of? And I think a lot of it has to do with going to open mats a lot as like a white and blue belt. That was something I did very, very religiously. I would say weekly. And it's interesting because some people, when they come up, they don't do that, or that's not really part of their experience, especially early on. So I think having exposure to other gyms, especially via open mats, was kind of where I learned A, how to show up, and B, how to assess if the situation was maybe not how it should be.
Sure. Yeah, I think when you're visiting, I was just thinking about it just in general as like a people thing. If you visit someone's home, you visit, I don't know, anything. You just visit somewhere. You conduct yourself a certain way, and in my mind, it would just appear like do that same thing when you visit a gym. I visited a couple different gyms in Virginia. I'm out in Maryland, and I don't know. I always just thought of it as me going over to a friend's house. Just be cool. Don't just go into the refrigerator, start grabbing stuff. Don't put your feet up on the table, things like that. So, when I'm rolling with them, I'm not trying to rip heel hooks or anything. Just like, I'm not even attacking feet. If they go for mine, I'll grab theirs just so I'm like, hey, I know where your foot is too, but I'm the guest.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that oftentimes people associate attacking any kind of leg locks as like maybe something that was rude, but I don't know. These days, I feel like that's kind of something that should be maybe going to the wayside, at least on the West Coast. I know it's like very, very prevalent here, and I don't really see that as like, well, unless I have a higher rank just like mercilessly attacking a lower rank that doesn't know how to defend themselves. I don't really see
Yeah.
that as too rude anymore, to be honest with you.
Well, no, I mean that's just called practice. You know,
Yeah.
like you got to get that work in. Uh,
Yeah.
I visited one gym, and you know they were just going for ankle, like straight ankle locks left and right, which I was fine with. I didn't care. I was like, okay, it's fine. If you go for mine, I'm gonna go for yours. But they weren't cranking it. They weren't being crazy, but it was kind of like catch and release. Like, hey, get your toes. Like, huh,
Yeah.
I noticed. I noticed. I got to get better at defending that. But yeah, I agree. I think at this point in the game, the whole footlock game, it's fair game. It's there. Unless, I mean, you're in the game and you got like a white belt saying, I'm going to rip a heel hook today. And it's like, oh, no, the hell you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Oh,
think going with the rule set for like whatever training room you're in, obviously if it's gi, like going honey hole to some sort of vicious knee bar is probably like not the best choice or whatever. But if you're training no gi and you're not sure of someone's rank, I would kind of just go for general submissions until you can either gauge what their response is going to be or get some sort of clarification. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's hard to tell. You don't really know.
hmm. Yeah, I kind of take their lead. If I see them going for it, and it's like, okay, I guess this is open game. But I won't be the first one as a visitor to attack, a leg lock. I just feel like, you know what? Let's see. Like when I was visiting, they went for it. I said, okay, you're telling me it's okay. And then we had a new guy at our gym a few years back. He and I rolled. We're in the gi. Not sure where he came from. Well, I know where he came from now, but at the time I didn't know. He went for a heel hook. I was
Oh
like, "Whoa,
no.
what are you doing?" I mean, he was cool. He didn't crank or anything, but he got in position. I looked, was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, that's not what we do here, buddy." He was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, no, no, no big deal." Then transition to an ankle lock, and I was like, "Okay, I'll tap there." That sucked. I, I didn't mean to go there. I just meant like let me go,
Yeah,
please.
yeah. That's too funny.
So when you're creating these how to roll series posts, do you approach it more as a coach or like a storyteller, or just a wise sage giving information to those who need?
I guess a little bit of everything. It's kind of just like what I would tell a friend in a way. You know what I mean? I have, especially a lot of women that I've gotten close to over the years. Maybe they were a lower belt that I kind of befriended as an upper belt or whatever the case may be. So it's almost like I'm talking to one of them, or oftentimes a conversation that I have with one of them will inspire one of those posts. So I try to make it based off of like my experiences, things I would expect as an instructor, but also make it kind of silly and like I'm chatting with one of my friends. Nothing too formal.
Yeah, I noticed there's like kind of a light and funny tone within the post where it's like, yeah, it doesn't feel too serious, but it is still something where you can take that information and say, okay, that is helpful. Do you find that people respond better to information that's kind of wrapped in humor and lightheartedness?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like I think even when I'm looking at the type of media that I like to consume, it's oftentimes some sort of fact or something that's gonna help my understanding of some sort of topic be better. But it's usually wrapped or delivered in some sort of bite-sized package where I can absorb and have some fun interacting with it in like a short period of time. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I want it to be silly. I want it to be fun, but I also want to get a point across, especially if there's, you got to think of it like this. Jiu-jitsu is growing at a faster rate than it ever has. I started in 2015. Back then people would be like, what? Jiu-jitsu, like they couldn't even say the word back then. So now when you see a truck driving by on the freeway and it's a gym that you recognize, or it's someone walking out of the grocery store. Like, it's so much more prevalent these days that I think putting general information out for people, it's just going to be a good thing. You know what I mean? I think when we look at other accounts like Grappler's Diary, Adam's really cool. I think he's really, really interesting. And other creators that are just putting out good information, rosy rolls and stuff like that. I think it's pretty cool when you just see other people. Keith Krikorian, I feel like he's hilarious lately, and just seeing the type of stuff they're putting out there kind of inspired me. And I was like, okay, how can I put this through kind of like my lens, or how can I speak to like students that happen to follow me, or how is this something that'll maybe positively impact the people that are showing up to my classes. It's kind of like through that lens, essentially. I didn't really expect a lot of people to resonate with my writing, to be really honest with you. That was kind of a fun surprise.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised at who picks up on something, and nowadays, just you never know what's going to go viral, and
Yeah.
before you know, it's like, whoa, why is so many people seeing that? Or like, oh, that wasn't meant to, like, oh, it that went further than I thought it was going to go. Drats.
Yeah.
Like, I had typos. Well, so one of the first posts that I saw was how to roll with women posts that came up, which I thought, was a good post. I liked it. At our gym, we have men and women. I tend to roll mostly with men, but every so often I'll roll with a woman, and I'm always like, okay, let me be aware of my strength, almost to the point where I end up like, I'm trying to match technique, and then that's when I realize, like, my technique's not that great. I got to get strong on this girl. like, hold on, like coach is looking at me right now. Like, like, what misunderstandings do you think still exist when it comes to rolling with women?
Oh, this is such a good question. I'm really, really glad you brought this up. I think there were some people in the how to roll with men and how to roll with women posts that were kind of like haters, or put some sort of comments that I was like,
Of course.
hi, delete, whatever, right? There's always going to be those people, those naysayers that have whatever comment they want to make, right? And that's fine. Thank you for the engagement. Have a nice day. But I think one of the main misconceptions is almost what you just spoke on, like not really knowing how to gauge your output, or getting in a position where the guy feels like, okay, now I'm going to Hulk out because that is how I'm going to not lose in this situation. I think that's a very, very common thing that happens. But there's a huge benefit that happens for both players exactly when this occurs. So for women, you get to have a bite-sized, pretty safe look at if your jiu-jitsu is going to be effective in a real life situation. If you really look at it, that's kind of, you have these little moments where you get to see, is my jiu-jitsu actually working, right? And on the flip side, for the guys, I think it's important to learn not only how to gauge your output, but I've even experienced that. I'm a heavyweight. I've never been a tiny player. I think I cut down to lightweight once and it was awful. I've always been like middle heavy on that side. So I think I've had a very different understanding and experience when it comes to rolling with men, because I'm usually about their size, sometimes bigger, whatever the case may be. And there's even women who make me feel exactly that same way, where she's like highly technical, and I'm like, okay, now if I can just beat her tiny feet that are absolutely everywhere with this backstep pass, and then, oh my goodness, I totally hurt her wrist, I feel awful. You know what I mean? So I think it's really good to learn not only how to gauge the output, like I said, but like your timing, using your technique, learning how to be creative with your problem solving without it just being strength, speed, athletic attributes. And that's something that's really going to be reinforced late purple belt, early brown belt, definitely black belt.
Yeah, that's something I think about when I'm rolling with anyone. Just kind of like timing. Like I'm one of the bigger fellas at the gym, so whenever I'm rolling with someone, they tend to be lighter than me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, let me, try to match. Not necessarily match, but at least try to like use more technique than strength. There's some white belts and some of the blue belts that I know I'm bigger than. I'm just like, nah. I'm just here to terrorize today. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I try to be a good student in terms of like I'm here for a specific task. And I know this coming Sunday, one of my old training partners, a young lady who we came up together rolling, and we rolled a couple weeks ago, and it had been quite a while, maybe almost a year since we last rolled. It was business as usual. She just making me look goofy. I'm like, dude. Like, so I spent the last 2 weeks game planning and studying. She beat me up in front of her dad. Like, no, not this time. But then her dad beat my ass too. So it was just like, y'all just like this family don't like me, I guess. All right, cool.
That is so funny.
Um, so like as an instructor, what behaviors do you look for to make sure that male students are approaching roles respectfully?
So one thing I want to add is it's not just how the men train with the women. It's how the men train with people who are physically a lot less athletic than them, less capable than them, less experienced than them. There's a lot of different lenses that I'm looking through to manage the room. I think that's one thing that a lot of people kind of don't think about, or it's kind of like lost on them. Managing the room is a very big responsibility because it'll go sideways very quickly if you're not conducting the energy just right. So that's one thing that I'm really looking at. But I think the main characteristics, if we're going to break it down to your exact question, would be like a playfulness. That's the first thing I'm always looking at. Like, are you getting aggressive? Is this becoming hostile? Are you genuinely trying to hurt this person that you're training with? Which sounds dramatic, but these things can shift very quickly. You know what I mean? When egos get bruised, feelings get hurt, whatever the case may be. So I think the main thing I'm looking for is like, are you being playful? Are you being safe? Are you willing to jeopardize your partner's safety to look cool and get a submission that you really want to land that night? Those are kind of the things that I'm mainly looking for. And if I notice that two guys are getting amped up or things are maybe getting out of sorts, I will address it in a way that is direct but not hostile. Like, hey guys, let's keep it playful. Or, hey guys, we're all trading partners in here. Something like that, just so everybody can remember that it's not a fight club in the sense that you're looking to hurt someone else so that you can feel better.
It's also not a fight club where we don't talk about it, because when most of us leave the mats, we can't shut up about jiu-jitsu. So
yeah.
Always talk about Fight Club.
Well, I mean, if you're a visitor or if you're that guy that no one ever wants to train with after rolling with you once, the instructors definitely talk about it after, and we definitely kind of, hey, gotta keep an eye on so and so.
That's got to be kind of a, as the instructors, kind of a tough spot to be in too, because you have someone that's clearly coming there to train, but they may not be the safest. So it's like pairing them up with the right people.
Yeah.
I'm always aware, when coach is pairing folks up. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, you understand why it's happened. Sometimes there might be a lopsided pairing up. I think I got paired up with a very tiny white belt last week, and I was just like, he's seasoned though, so he's fine. But it was just one of those things like, I see why this happened. Like, we've trained enough together where we get it, but then I look over and I see why. Okay, those two are together because they're two of the bigger guys. Those two are there because they're the other two smaller folks, and then like you're small, but I'm big, so it's like we'll meet in the middle. He's one of the ones that I like to terrorize though, because he talks like weirdly. He just decided to he started talking smack to me one day, and I was like, dude, I don't know you like that. But it was kind of adorable. So now it's like, okay, I'm just gonna pick on him. Like, I pick on him, but also at the same time, when he's doing stuff, when we're rolling, I'll tell him afterward, like, dude, great job. You kept moving. That was awesome. You never let me get you in uh, um, a position where, you couldn't get out of it. So, good work. And then next time I'm going to wrist lock you. And he's like, he'll go for it. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait. And then I always forget.
I
Um,
think that kind of rapport is so special though, because like where else in your adult life do you really get to A, play, B, give feedback, and C, know that you're going to continue doing it and everyone's going to have a good time? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like with him especially, he's a good sport. You dish it out, he's gonna take it, but he's gonna give it right back. And he's very good at like, when we're drilling, he'll give good feedback, like, hey, maybe this felt a little loose here, like, and sometimes it could be because he's smaller, so it's like I just can't quite get the leverage. It was like, okay,
Mm,
well, but just hearing that feedback from him, 'cause I always dislike when people say, well, quiet white belt, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like you can learn from anyone. You
yeah.
can learn little things from anyone, not even just necessarily like, a white belt's not a wizard at jujitsu, but they might be able to tell you like, hey, that choke you're doing, it felt a little funky, like maybe you weren't like lined up properly, maybe they don't recognize that, but they're like, hey, the choke didn't feel right. I mean, you troubleshoot it, and it's like, okay, I got you. Now he's asleep. Okay, so I guess it was working that time. But
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. You could definitely learn from anybody.
speaking of white belts, he also had a post that explained how to roll with white belts, and that message felt very intentional. Like
uh,
like um that topic specifically, like what was the I guess the importance in that specifically, because rolling with white belts can get a little tricky for some folks, especially other white belts.
yeah, definitely. Um, I've seen a lot of white belts. I've been teaching for coming up on 9 years, so I've seen a lot of white belts. Uh, and it's funny to me because in a room of beginner students, I'll have on average 20 to 30 people, let's just say, right? And all of these white belts are so different. Each of them fall into those different archetypes. And when I'm partnering them up, I have to consider quite a few things: rank, age, weight, intensity, demeanor. Those are mainly what I'm looking at when I'm partnering someone up. So if you kind of, not in a mean way, you know what I mean? All of this is very much in jest and for laughs. But if you kind of have those people in an archetype in your head, matching them up does become a little quicker and easier.
Sure, sure. um, I think when you get two white belts that are friends outside, like maybe they joint together and then they get on the mat and start pairing up. Sometimes that could be a great thing, and sometimes it could, you see a little bit of goofing off there. It's like, hey, like I'm glad you guys are friends and you're getting along, but like might got to split y'all up, because like it's like in the classroom. You got two friends sitting next to each other, goofing off and giggling during the instructions.
Yeah, women's class is notorious for this. And it's really funny because the way our women's classes run, we have girls that are in the program that are able to join also. It's not like an intense class at all. I make it fun for literally anybody, whether it's your first day or you're very seasoned, whatever the case may be. It's going to be kind of meeting you at your level. One of the little girls, her mom trains and is a blue belt, and they'll both come to that class. And the little girl is an active competitor. She's incredible. But it's funny because when her mom is goofing off or chatting or laughing too much during drilling, the little girl is like, "Hey, you got to get back on your cross collar choke, lady." And it's just so funny. But to be honest with you, I love it. I feel like women's class vibe it's one of the absolute most fun things you can encounter when you're a lady anywhere in your jiu-jitsu journey.
I could imagine. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not usually in the women's classes.
Yeah.
Uh, Something about I'm not welcomed. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really weird when I went in and they all like picked me up and threw me out. Um, What advice would you give to, upper belts that, when it comes to creating like a positive environment for new white belts coming in?
I think it's understanding that everybody's on their own journey and kind of, I wouldn't want to say like meeting them where they're at, but just understanding kind of what they're looking to get out of jujitsu. I feel like these days, again, with it being so popular, a lot of women come for a lot of different reasons. So if you feel like maybe you're a brown belt and you have a small women's program and they're mainly white belts and you're kind of like, I don't want to go over an armbar from guard again. I get it, but show up for them and then you can turn them into amazing training partners for you. So it's kind of a little bit selfish intentions, but the more women we have on the mats, the more fun it's going to be for everybody. The bigger the school is going to grow. There's like a lot of win-win situations. So I think it's easy to kind of be like, white belt ladies or like whatever. Just kind of think of it as like, think of the long term and just show up for someone how you wish they would have showed up for you as a lower belt. Like I was really fortunate to have quite a few ladies that I could look up to or encountered me very kindly when I was a white belt. So I think paying that forward and making sure that the next generation sees a better landscape is really, it's like mandatory. It's not like it's not the bare minimum. Like this is like something we have to do. It's required.
Sure, sure. I always think about, when you're working with white belts or anyone really, but white belts, especially male, female, whichever were, you want to, like you said, like train them up because these are your training partners moving forward. If they're doing great, you're doing great too. It's, everybody gets to grow together. So we always got to keep that in mind. And also too, it's, fundamentals are great. So if you got to go over that armbar from guard, sometimes, those higher ranks, they pick up something that they didn't pick up. I see something new every time. Like, yeah. We went over armbar from guard last week and I was just like, that's a different way to approach it. And, I'm a move of the day kind of guy. I'm like, oh, I'm going to hit this. I usually don't because they just learned it. So now they're like, oh, I know the defense, dude. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. It's too early. Yeah. Wait till next week. But I was trying to hit Darces all last week. I got little T-Rex arms. I was like, I'm going to get this Darce. I was like, you can't even connect your fingers. Like, you're like, what do you, like, they go learn something else. Wrist locks.
That's so fun.
but yeah, I think, you all got to work together no matter what level because, even though everybody's there for their own different reasons, I think in the bigger picture, we're all there for the same reason, which is to be better than what we were before we walked in that evening, morning, afternoon, whenever. So, yeah, y'all get it.
That 1% better every day we're always talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. Like sometimes I feel like mine is more like maybe like 0.1%, but it's still better. It's still better. It's just, sometimes I feel like it goes negative. I walk out of class, I'm just like, I really probably should take up checkers. Like this might not be my game. So,
how long have you been training?
I've been training on and off for 10 years.
Oh my goodness.
So I think the last 2 years has been probably my most consistent window of time. So now I feel like I think I know jiu-jitsu now. Whereas like those earlier years, I do stuff and it's like, I know this thing, but I don't know how to connect it to that thing. Now it's like, oh, I could set traps. I got things. I got moves. So I feel more confident. But that also goes with the idea that I'm going more consistently now. So that, who would have thought, if you go consistently, you actually learn.
People love to forget that jiu-jitsu is a diminishing skill. People love to forget that.
Oh yeah. When I left, like I didn't like leave, but like, I took some time off. Just like I was training once a week and that really does nothing for me. It's just, it's like I'd come in and by the time I, get back to that next class, they didn't learn God knows how many different things between then, like to add on to what we're now going to do that next class. And it's like, oh,
yeah.
All right. like now in all my classes now I record
Mm.
coach doing the instructional, and then I record any sparring that I do, and then I go back. Like I write notes based because I can't remember
Yeah.
after class, so I go back and I look at the videos and do my notes off of that, and that's helped me quite a bit. I mean, I still get thrashed, but that's not an information thing. That's more of a execution at that point. It's just me
Mm.
having to pull the trigger in some moves where I'm like, I know I can do this, but I'm like, what if I miss? And then my trainer was like, dude, just fucking go for the arm bar, dude. He was like, oh shit, you
Yeah.
heard that? I was talking out
Yeah.
loud.
That like decision paralysis that people go through. It's very, very common. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's certain things that I just know I don't have a problem with going for, and then there are other things where it's like it's not necessarily that it's new, it's just that it's something I don't go to a lot. Like I don't go for omoplatas often.
Mm.
I don't know too many people who do, but I find myself there a lot, and I'm like, I don't want to be here. So I guess I'm gonna have to start working on omoplatas because I land there quite a bit, and it's just like, huh. All right, I guess I'm gonna figure this out now. So maybe that'll be my
With omoplata specifically, when I was younger, my knees and my hips were bendier. I would play the submission, but these days I use the omoplata connection to sweep and come up, or to play with that lapel choke or like the assassin choke, like Mackenzie Dern hit in those
hmm.
MMA fights. I don't know if you saw that, but it was absolutely wicked. Um,
Oh yeah,
but that's cool that like you're advancing on different connections, you know what I mean? And I think when you're filming and reinforcing, especially watching your own sparring, that helps a lot. I did that a lot at like blue and purple belt. But I think filming is really smart. Actually, I was just talking to a friend of mine who coaches at 10th Planet Finishers, or 10th Planet Bethlehem, which is called Finishers. Have you ever been there in Pennsylvania?
I have not.
I highly suggest you go. It is the biggest mat space I have ever seen in person.
Hmm.
It is like jujitsu Disneyland, and the instruction is incredible. But anyways,
Hmm.
one of the instructors showed me this like lat trap system, and I'm so glad I filmed it because after I visited and came back, I want to say like a year and a half later, I revisited it and drilled it a lot. And it's kind of funny because it's something that has helped a lot of my students connect dots or like fill in a part of their game, especially when they're dealing with someone like a lot more athletic than them. So it's kind of fun when different pieces come together, and sometimes you'll need someone to explain it multiple times, or you'll need to hear multiple instructors explain the same concept, or one day all of a sudden your brain is just open, ready to receive the information in like a different way. And I like to think of it almost like a kaleidoscope where like these different lenses are clicking into place, and then you can see this complete full picture. And I think that's a lot of jiu-jitsu. It's like the more you do it, the more you realize not only is it like super interconnected, but a concept that you're going to learn from some of your super early day one things are also going to support like the very advanced techniques you learn a lot deeper in your belts. So it's really cool how these cycles are never ending in a way.
Yeah, there's quite a few times where we'll go over something, and then maybe a year later we'll revisit, or like 6 months later we'll revisit, and it's like I don't know, it's like something just opens up, and it's like, oh my goodness, like it's the same stuff that we learned, but I don't know, like now my brain's ready to receive that information, whereas before it's kind of like I'm looking at it, I'm learning it, but I'm not absorbing it. And then the next time, because there's already kind of a base of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's like now I can absorb, the nutrients, and get get strong, and feel better about it. And I think that's one of those areas where I struggle with sometimes, where it's like I might just come in one morning and I feel like I'm going for triangles. I got short legs, but I'm going for triangles today, and I'm going to get these triangles, and I'm not getting the triangles. I'm like, triangles suck. And then we'll go over something like, oh, if you get like a little bit of an angle here, and then my brain's like, it just pulls in. It's like, oh my God, you're right. Like, who would ever thought that the black belt would know? Like if I change my angle here, I would have never guessed that. But it's always fascinating revisiting stuff and then pulling that new info from it, even if it's just revisiting during like class time or going back and looking at videos. Like I don't know how many videos I have now. I know my Google Drive got full, so I had to move it all to the computer. I was like, okay, this is a little much, but it's tough looking at myself spar, but it's a necessary. I look at it a lot of times just for like the fun of it. Like if something silly happens, then it's like, oh, there's some jokes there I can make out of this. We're about to make some low light films. But
or like one time I was filming during sparring at a gym and like the power went out. It was so funny because you hear the professor, super Brazilian, he goes, "You don't need eyes for jujitsu. Everyone keeps sparring." And it's like, oh my god, okay.
Yeah, like I'm the sweaty guy at the gym. So sweat gets into my eye. I have to roll with my eyes closed. It's like, okay, well, looks like we're being Daredevil today. No, no vision.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a field sport anyway. So it's not like it's basketball. It's like, oh shit, I can't see. I just got hit in the face with the ball.
Have you ever gotten to train with anyone who was blind?
No, I have not.
Awesome. One of my training partners when I was like a white and blue belt, he was blind, and training with him was like so different. It was a very different vibe and feel because obviously like he can't really see where you're attacking from, so he was a big counter player, and then before you know it he like swept you, submitted you, all this kind of stuff. It was pretty crazy, but it was really funny because one time we were both white belts. We were like some in-house tournament and they called his name and he like reaches his hand out to me, and I didn't really know the extent of his vision disability at the time, and he was like, "Can you lead me to the stage?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I can lead you to the stage." Like that's so crazy. And he wasn't competing in the para divisions at all. He was doing like regular adult divisions.
Nice.
And I always thought that was just really cool.
Yeah, I've never had that experience rolling with anyone that's blind. I could imagine, like, I guess the closest I've come is like with my coach when he takes his glasses off, that he can't see, which is like, I didn't know that was a thing. Like my wife, she always makes fun of me because she'll take my glasses. She's like, "Your prescription is really strong." I'm like, "Really?" Because I can see without my glasses. I do pretty well without them. Like I only wear them because the doctor said, "Hey, you should wear these." And I'm like, I guess. Like I feel like I read pretty good. I read comic books all the time, but my coach, when his glasses, are off, it's almost like like as soon as he gets done like rolling or showing the move, it's like he can't wait to get back to those glasses. Like,
poor thing.
Damn, are you that blind? So, which weirdly enough, my wife says that she can't see through my glasses, but if I put on her glasses, I can see everything just as clear.
Oh my goodness.
And then I can also see without my glasses. I'm starting to wonder if they just wanted my money.
Maybe so. You're lucky. I wish I could see without some sort of vision correction. Trying to fight without vision correction is so hard. I can't tell how far you are from me, so I just like sit guard.
Well, they told me that I was farsighted, and I was like, really? I was like, I am. I didn't know that. Like I just put these on and I see stuff. And then my wife was like, yeah, like you didn't know you were farsighted. I was like, dude, I don't know a lot of things. Like, so I just, again, they gave me some glasses and said, yeah, these should help. I was like, yeah, they help a little bit. I mean, I'm looking at my screens here. Things look fine. But if I take, I'm so used to these now. That is a little blurry, but I can still make out everything. I can still like read what's there, but it's all a trap. They just want our money, Emmy. They just want our money.
Yeah.
So along in the series, and I believe this is when I believe I just reposted this today of yours up. How to roll while injured.
Yes.
Because that one I think is kind of it's a helpful one, but I also think too is like, I don't know, man. Like when I roll injured, all those rules go out the window. It's like Like, let's just flow. Let's go like a solid 30. About 20 seconds in, we're going a solid 90. And I don't care that my shoulder is clicking right now, but whatever. But you're um very open about um uh injury conscious training.
Mhm.
What patterns do you see that lead students to worsen their injuries unnecessarily?
I think especially in the lower belt phase when you're like a white and blue belt and you're maybe like 3 years in, there's this innate urgency to rush to upper belts and like to get as many mat hours as you possibly can, or at least that's how it was with me. And I feel like that behavior was very glorified back then. Everybody was kind of doing it. um,
You got to be tough.
you got to be tough. Like uh jiu-jitsu is really cool if you can take it, right? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how it felt sometimes. um but I think people go too hard too fast. If you were teaching a child to walk, right, like a baby, you don't yell at them like walk now, you have to be good at walking. You allow them to fall and try and grow and understand that they're going to come to this understanding of how to walk on their own. And jiu-jitsu is kind of the same. And when you look at that in kind of that analogy, it makes a lot more sense, because people who are 1 2 years in, they're like, man, I cannot get an armbar from close guard in live sparring for the life of me, or whatever technique you want to insert there. And it's just funny, especially, I'm 10 years in. I've been training like a bad lady this whole time, and I've trained through a lot of injuries. And I don't mean like my knee popped and I need, 3 weeks to get it good. I mean like I broke my nose, or I broke my foot, or like there was some sort of substantial injury that I was either going to have to take time off and just let it heal, or was it in a gray area where I could still kind of improve somehow in some sort of aspect of my development. So I think as long as it's not something that's going to have like dramatic, affecting, lasting damage on your body, and in my case, let's say you're in a situation where like when I broke my nose, I did not train whatsoever. That was the first major injury that I had at blue belt, and my parents were freaked out and they thought I was crazy and all this kind of stuff, right? So I was like, okay, I need to chill out. But let me see, it was probably about a year and a half later, almost 2 years later, when I broke my foot, a year and a half, something like that. I knew that I would be able to continue improving, and I was at a point with competition where I was like, dude, if I just sit around, like coming back is going to be very hard. So I could bear weight, I just couldn't bend it. So I kept like the boot on. We taped a trash bag over it, and I did what I could. Did I live spar? No. Did I do things that were safe? Yes. Once I was working with other people, if I ever felt like something was compromised, I immediately stopped. So it's like if you're able to kind of take your ego out of the equation and not have one of the situations you kind of explained, where it's like when you start, there's certain parameters and then everything turns up. And then there's no parameters and there's like a really likely situation where you're probably going to make it worse. That's what you're trying to avoid. Like you have to have some sort of structure. And I think the style of eco training will actually help with this. You're going to have a task. You're going to have constraints. Can you stay with inside this box? If you can, you're going to continue building skills. I think now that that's something that's a lot more prevalent, it'll be easier for people to kind of have some sort of structured plan to improve, even if they're injured.
Yeah, like I've had a handful of injuries, and for the most part, I tried to stay away. When I had separated my ribs, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there was no like, yeah, I'll just work around. Like, like I think I never get the hiccups, but for whatever reason, when those ribs were separated and injured, hiccups happen daily, and it
Yep.
was painful. Like I couldn't laugh, I couldn't cough, but I didn't have a problem sneezing. Sneezing
Mm,
was not an issue, and I was terrified to sneeze. Didn't have an issue, but if I cough just a little bit, if the hiccups hit, or I watch comedies. I like to laugh. I was like,
yeah.
not now. Looks like we're going to be watching, Guiding Light now. I'm going to watch some soap operas and just be miserable. Uh, um,
Totally.
yeah, like when I went in to urgent care, they're just like, just take 2 weeks off. I was like, baby boy, I'm gonna let you know now, 2 weeks ain't the number. Like, this ain't that ain't it. But then when I had strained my groin, they said the same thing, like give it 2 weeks. And
No, groin is much longer.
a groin and hamstring are those injuries where you think they're better and they're far from it.
Yeah.
I like when I injured my groin, they're like, yeah, give it 2 weeks. And I was like, I can already tell you now, that's at least six, at
Yes.
minimum
Hmm.
6. And even after 6 weeks, I came back and I was still very uncomfortable. I think like probably around the 2 month mark is where I felt like, okay, I think I'm back. I think I'm good. And I was still uncomfortable. So I don't know. Injuries aren't anything to play with, but we continue to play with them anyway. So I don't know what to tell you.
It's just part of the territory, you know what I mean? Like you're putting more stress on the human body than it's really supposed to take. So like things are gonna pop, things are gonna, get tweaked and this and that. So it's just important that you know A, how to recover, and B, like pay for people to help you heal. Don't just sit in a salt bath
Yeah.
twice, put a little heating pad on it and say you did recovery. Like no, you need a professional.
My buddy's wife is a physical therapist. I actually always feel guilty, like, because every time I visit them, I'm always injured. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, Laura, so I got this thing. Well, the first time I didn't want to say anything. My buddy was like, so I think I came in, I just come from training and I had ice on my ankle.
Mhm.
And he goes, hey, man, I feel a little insulted that, you didn't even think to go upstairs and ask Laura,
Yeah.
for some help. And I was like, I just, I don't know, didn't want to crowd her space. I'm here to record. Let's go ahead and record. And now every time I go over there, like there's something bandaged up or something injured. I think the last time I saw her, my knee was swollen,
Yeah.
and there's like nothing that I had done. So I asked her, I was like, hey, so my knee's swollen. I was like, okay, what's your question? I was like, I don't know. Like, why? Like, she gave me a couple different like ideas why. It was like, ice it, rest it, and do these movements, like these light movements. And she was right. Again, who would have thought? Like someone who's a professional knew what the hell they're talking about.
The doctor was right. Crazy.
Me, that urgent care doctor wasn't like,
Okay, so I do want to say like when I broke my foot, it really changed how I looked at like medicine and the fact that like I am in charge of my body. I know what my
mhm,
body needs. Just because this random urgent care doctor says I need a pin in my foot and like I cannot compete, whatever, right? I'm going to take the data that he gave me. I'm going to go to someone else. They're going to tell me what they think. Cool. Now that I have two data points, now we're going to figure out how to fix this. Is surgery something that we absolutely have to do? Because if it's not, it is not happening. And I'm really fortunate that my family, we have a chiropractor. His name is Rudy. If you're in Southern California, finding him is not going to be easy, but he's incredible. He's like this retired savant of his craft, uses these crazy frequency machines. He's incredible. He was able to fix my foot in 8 weeks. I want to say I competed 8 weeks later, and
oh,
my knee popped. So like that leg was still compromised, but I was able to win. And it's like kind of a fun story to look back on. It's good advice to give my students, like if they're in a situation where it's like, well, here was my experience. Take that information and make the best choice that you possibly can. You know what I mean? And I think that's all I'm really looking to do with like a lot of this Instagram stuff. I have 10 years of experience. Here's kind of my take. Whatever resonates, cool. If not, don't leave me a hate comment. Go somewhere else.
I think any information that whenever you have some experience, you have information to share. It's always good. There's some folks that they know stuff and they don't want to share.
Yeah,
They're
that's
like,
true.
this is a secret. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
telling anyone. So it's always good when, like, you've had experiences and at least what's worked for you, what you've gone through, and maybe someone else can gain from that. That's always very, I think, helpful, and also just cool because you know there might be somebody out there, like, again, we see, your post, how to roll with women, how to roll as a visitor, how to roll injured. you know there's some folks that may not like have that immediate like thought process of like, how would I do these things, and they see the information you provide and it's like, that's a good start point. you know
Yeah.
like you said, with like, you see the urgent care doctor and they're like, hey, here's a diagnosis here, and it's like, okay, well, I'll take your information, and I'll catalog it. Then you go to another doctor for the second opinion. It's like, okay, I got your information, now I got this info together, now let me build it from my own end and see what's because I don't think putting a pin in my foot is quite the move. Seems a little extreme, but they
Yeah.
might tell me physical therapy might be the move. And we've had teammates who've had that, where they're like, neck injuries, and they're like, yeah, you can never do this ever again. I was like, okay. And talk to two other doctors. They're like, no, a little bit of physical therapy, you need to take some time, but you'll be able to get out there. It's like, okay, that works. We'll run with that. So information is always good. It's always good,
Yeah.
what to share. And if you don't share your information, bad, mean.
I think I was being a little bit crazy at the time too, because I saw this movie called Bleed for This. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's a story of a boxer, Vinny Penna. He has a really Italian name. Anyways, he broke his neck. The doctors told him he would never box again, and he was like in the metal halo, like still doing bench presses, like against doctor's orders, and was able to
Of course.
rehab himself enough to like learn how to walk, learn how to box, had a professional boxing match after breaking his neck. It's just really interesting when you look into these stories of like the human spirit can really achieve a multitude of quote unquote impossible things. But it's like, how far are you willing to push this? And I
Oh yeah.
think
I mean,
we're seeing people take extremes these days, no matter what vein it's in. You know what I mean? But I just think it's interesting because we're starting to see a bigger development of people can really do whatever they want to do, you know?
yeah. I think also too, our medical professionals, a lot of them like to steer on the super safest side. So it's like, well, maybe, we recommend surgery. And sometimes maybe it's not so much the safest side, but maybe the more financial side. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but, really, like you said, your body, you know, you got to go with what you understand. Also, again, second opinion, goes a long way, but also, what you're capable of. And, with the right information, it's okay to push yourself a little bit. And
Yeah.
if you're like, hey, I've got a knee injury that's really bugging me, I can't walk, then you probably shouldn't push that. Hey,
Yeah.
it would be so like, man, like I'm crawling around the house, but I think I'm gonna go train. I
That's
mean, we're
so
on the ground anyway.
jujitsu. That's so jujitsu. I can't walk, but I can still bolo. I'm gonna go to 6 p.m. class. Like that's so jujitsu.
I've, I've I've been there. I've done it. It's like
Yeah.
I actually had a lipoma removed. Um,
What?
like I had surgery, and outpatient surgery, and I was like still pretty high. It was like had my wife drop me off,
Oh my
and
god.
I was like, I think I can do this. And I went through the warm ups and I drilled a little bit, but I didn't do a whole lot because first off, I was high as a kite still, and I was still very tender.
Yeah.
But it was just this was early on. I want to say probably inside my first year. Yeah, year and a half, something to that effect. Um, so I was clearly, that white belt was like, I want to do jujitsu all of the time, as much as I can. Nothing's gonna stop me. You just had surgery. Yeah, I know, but I'm gonna get out there on the mats. And I mean, then I realized, I can't do a forward roll right now because I don't know which way's forward. And
Yeah.
and my side hurts a little bit because that's where the lipoma was removed from. I was like, I'm a little tender, but that's just jujitsu, especially in those early days where you're like, I want to do this, I have to do this, and then we do it, and sometime, sometimes it's probably not in the best interest of her body, but we love it.
Yeah. I think that's where good coaching comes into play too. You know what I mean? Like what level of craziness is your coach going to co-sign right now?
So my coach, he was not there but his time, and she was even like, I don't think you should do this, but if you really feel like, if you feel like you feel good enough to train, go ahead. And when we were doing the warm-ups, I went to do a forward roll. I was like, but I can shrimp. I was able
Yeah.
to shrimp. So I was like, all right, shrimping in place, I can do that. Combat stand up, I can do that. And then when it came time to like drill, I was moving super slow. Um, like to the point where I was like, I think I'm more of a detriment to my training partner right now. I was like, I'm just gonna sit here and watch. And then just from that point, I was like, I'm just gonna hang out. And this wasn't in the days where I was recording anything yet, so I didn't think to like take my phone out and record like the techniques. I was just like, I'm just here. Like I just love being on these mats. This is my sanctuary, and maybe the bed should have been my sanctuary because I was still high on anesthesia, and
Yeah.
like, like I'm still bandaged up. Put on my rash guard and everything. Double bandaged. I was like, yes, I'm gonna do this now. If that were to happen today, I would definitely not even consider. Yeah, like I'd be like, yeah, I'm probably gonna like sit out this week just because I was pretty tender for a couple of days, and but I think of like our ranks also as kind of like age of children. White belts are
Yes.
like, you know, toddler through like 9 years old, like 10 through like, 16, and purple belts anywhere up. And it's like, and that goes through any age though. You could be a 35-year-old white belt. And it's like, yeah, you're probably a 3-year-old right now. Like,
Yeah.
you shouldn't put your finger in the socket, but we still got to cover the sockets
Right.
because we just can't trust you.
I think if there was a warning label on if you're genuinely trying to gauge on if you are able to attend a jujitsu class, it's kind of like, can you operate heavy machinery right now? Because if the answer is no, you shouldn't be sparring.
That was the clear indicator when I said, "Hey, can you drop me off?" It's
If you
like,
couldn't drive yourself there, it's a no.
look, Emmy. I know this now. All right, I didn't know this like year one. I was just like, this should be fine. What's the problem? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it just had surgery. It's okay. I've seen
Yeah.
this in movies, right? And
Yeah.
I had not seen that in the movie, but I thought that I did because I was high. So
Your Rocky training montage was like real vivid and elaborate.
it's like he's really doing that for like that. He's doing that power clean with like, 600 pounds. I don't
Yeah.
think that's real, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go train anyway.
Right.
Like, like the gym's that way. Yeah. Yeah. I know where it's at. I was just
Right.
trying to make
Yeah.
sure you knew where it was. Um,
Yeah.
all right. So I want to talk real quick about also how to roll with men, as we talk
Mm.
about how to roll with women, how to roll with white belts, injuries. You also had how to roll with men, which I'm sure that went over well with the guys because guys. Um, but what message did you, when you put the post out, hope to get across to not just women, but like, I mean, men need to know how to roll with men too.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised. I guess it's like a little controversial. I actually had one of my girlfriends like proofread it for me. I was like, hey, look at this. Like, let me get someone else's take real quick before I just let the internet demolish me. Um, but I mean, I don't know. I kind of thought of this because I have a white belt who oftentimes they have the best intentions, right? But when it comes to like real life and how these things are being executed, oftentimes things are not perfect, right? Such is life. And I had him in an armbar and I was going to break his grip, but he was being so erratic and like thrashy in the way that he was trying to escape my hips were kind of following the fulcrum of the elbow, like without me really thinking about it. And when he did like this big movement to try to get out, my body kind of just naturally reacted and like hipped in on the submission. And then I was like, oh crap, you know what I mean? Like this guy's gonna break his own arm right now if I'm not really good at controlling how I'm applying this. So I told him verbally, I'm like, hey, you need to chill out right now. I don't want anyone to get hurt. Like, I'm gonna give you a verbal disclaimer essentially, because even though he's a man and I'm a woman, it looks crazy if the black belt instructor pops the white belt's arm. You know what I mean? So it's like you kind of just got to think about the optics of the situation outside of like the immediate. You know what I mean? That was something that I kind of been thinking about. So a lot of times these posts come up of like conversations that I had or situations that arrived, and a lot of times the women will come to me and they'll be like, "Dude, I cannot seem to figure out how to actually like fight the men." And I'm like, "Well, one thing to understand is like you're not trying to fight against them. Like you're training with them. You know what I mean?" So that's one thing that I was really trying to get across. It's like we're both doing a dance and everybody needs to enjoy it no matter what it is. One of the other things I wanted to get across, because especially coming up in the ranks when I was like a white and blue belt, I kind of noticed like sometimes it'd be hard for the women to get the same level of coaching from the instructor or the same level of decent training partners or the same level of rounds simply because there's not enough people for her to train with. So it's kind of coming from that vein of rolling with men, whether you're a woman or another man, has like certain etiquettes and just different little things that I wanted to highlight. Because again, it comes back to when you're a woman training with men, this is the safest way for you to assess if your jiu-jitsu is effective. You know what I mean? And when you break it down like that, I think it becomes a lot easier for people to understand and digest, because it used to be like, oh, if I submitted you, that means I was better than you at jiu-jitsu. And like these days it's looked at so differently. Like in that moment, in that round, that person found, you know, the knockout or the submission or whatever, golden quitch, whatever, golden snitch, whatever thing you want to think about, right? But these days I feel like there's a better mentality around of like, oh, just because someone submits you in this one moment doesn't mean that they're necessarily better than you at this entire skill. And I think that's something that has affected jiu-jitsu in a really positive way, because again, it's growing so quickly and become so prevalently known as a general topic in society psyche.
Yeah, they, with my one training partner many years ago when we're both white belts, she would always go for an arm bar, and you know I'd have my grips. You know, I like do like a S lock, and she's just pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. And one day I told her, I was like, "Dude, you like kick me." She was like, "What?" I was like, "Kick the shit out of my arm." And I didn't realize like she's strong. Like she like played field hockey, so she has super strong legs. And she kicked so hard. I was like, fuck. Like that was a dumb thing to tell her. And it also too, it was dumb for me to like kind of keep holding too. It's like what am I trying to prove? It's like, but you know, whenever she and I would roll, you know, I don't know that we ever really looked at it as like, you know, male versus female, as much as it was like, again, she's smaller and I'm bigger. And it was like, okay, you know, we're going to get these rounds in. And then, yeah, when we drilled, especially, it was fine. But like when we had to spar against each other, it's like, okay, this, and especially when she competes, because like you're not competing against somebody that looks like me. Like you're not competing against somebody that moves like me. I'm a little clunky. Like you're probably going to be going against somebody that's a little bit more fluid, and you know I got a bad hip, so certain movements aren't going to work for me. So you're like, oh wait a minute, you know, as you're competing, it's like, huh, I'm used to like that right hip not, you know, moving a certain way. Didn't think they were going to do that today. But
women definitely spar very differently than men. Yeah, I would have to agree with you.
yeah, and I mean, the few upper belt women that I spar against, it is just, again, just their technique is so just on point. I just feel like, man, like, I, I, I don't know how to feel. I'm just like, man, like I gotta get better technique. And I'm like, nope, reverse card. I'm strong. I'm just like side control. Like, like now you got to carry all 200 of these pounds. Nah, I'm just kidding. I don't do that. Like I do that to that one white belt though.
Mhm.
Like for him to work, I'm like, you got to work on me. Um,
Yeah, so there's two things that I was kind of thinking when you were referencing that. Majority of the time that I've been training, I did not have a female my size or rank on the team. I always trained with men, and I felt like when it came to competition, usually I was pretty prepared. If you're used to controlling men, controlling women is usually easier, I would say, usually, or problem solving how to accomplish it isn't as hard. I think that's a better way
sure.
to put it. But I have a training partner that I really enjoy sparring with. He's also a black belt. And a lot of times when we spar, I don't feel like, oh, like I'm a female sparring a man. It's like, oh, these are two black belts throwing down, and it's so fun. And as a woman, when you have a training partner that's a male that you can really trust, like you really trust to train hard and like to go for stuff, and like you know they're not going to hurt you, you just cherish those training partners so much, man. Like they really help you grow and they become not only friends, you know what I mean? Like they become very special to you because it's like, oh, that guy like is so awesome. I love the rounds that I get to have with so and so, or like I love how I get to train with, you know, this person. Um, it's a really big deal, to be honest with you, because it's still a male dominated sport and it's going to be a male dominated sport for a really long time. And even like as a, you know, female upper belt that was a competitor and instructor and stuff like that, sometimes when I go to a different room, like getting around isn't easy, you know? So it's like these things that these white belt women are going through every day or something that I can still relate to or like still go through, or if like my little 2 cents can make them feel like it's not as hard or it's a common experience, you know what I mean? Like you're not terminally unique. This is something a lot of us experience. It becomes a little easier to get from point A to point B, I think.
I always think that the connection between training partners is really special because ultimately you're going through like intense, like, you know, you're manipulating your bodies in intense ways. And I think there's something, you know, very personal about that. You know, it's like I might see Randy in sales every single day, you know, and talk about, you know, his dog, and you know, there's a relationship there. There's a you know, a connection, but you know, I might fight, you know, with Rich every Saturday, you
Yeah.
know, and there's something a little bit more unique about that because there's a trust.
Yeah.
Like I gotta trust that Rich isn't going to rip my shoulder in the opposite direction. I got to trust that Rich isn't going to shred my knee, you know.
Yes.
So, you know, there are these things where it's like when you have that training partner that you're with, that you build this bond with, a big part of that bond comes from that trust. And if you can trust somebody to that level with protecting your body and not injuring you, that's a pretty special thing. We got a teammate who off the mats, we have a better relationship now, but before we didn't have a great relationship off the mats. But on the mats, we took care of each other no matter what our, you know, our outside lives were like that were so different that we just butted heads, but we got on the mats, tap hands, and we took care of each other. And I was like, huh. So, you know, it's weird how that goes, but I love it.
I think it's really important. I remember when I was a white belt, I think the only etiquette that was really even discussed was no religion, no sexual orientation, no money. Like there, that was kind of the only thing that was really perpetuated. That and like obviously don't go in the bathroom barefoot. Like those are the only things I remember really being told as a white belt. You know what I mean? And I think it's
Yeah.
important that that's something we continue because jujitsu is very unique in that you can have in the same room a criminal, a cop, a pastor, a teacher, a lawyer, an artist, a dude who makes apps, someone who's an AI engineer. Like, you're going to have a melting pot of a lot of different people. And like you said before, we're all here to get better at this one thing that we all love so dearly. Don't make it weird. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to talk about Trump, and I'm not here to talk about all the things that we're looking to escape. If you're going to trauma dump, please wait till after the third roll. Like, let me get my rounds in. And then we can talk about, you know, your divorce and your dog with cancer and why Jessica won't talk to you, whatever the case may be. But we all need to get sweaty first. Then we can hold hands and talk about feelings, I promise you.
That's what I love about it, is like you get lost on the mats and whatever's going on there, and whatever's going on in the outside world. It's not a matter right now. You know, there's no phones. There's no, even though I have my phone and I'm recording, you know, the instructions, and, you know, I have, you know, my little stand where when I'm rolling, but I don't look at any notifications.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I think one time the volume was up and I heard my phone go off. I was like, the fuck was that? Like,
it's almost like offensive. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I felt dirty. I was like, oh no. There was another time my phone was in my gym bag, and my coach, I didn't hear it going off, but he was near my bag, and I came over to grab my phone to record. It was like, was that your phone blowing up the entire time? I was like, it was like, I always turn my phone down. I guess that was one of the times I didn't. And I was like, oh. But I mean, you know, when we're on the mats, though, phones aren't a thing. You know, like, information isn't a thing. Even if we're having a discussion about something, someone's like, you know, like after the mat, you know, after when we're on the mats, just talking about something, we might ask like, oh, did you see this match? Or, you know, this technique. We very rarely pull out our phones to like sit and look at it. It's just not a thing, because like the mats is like the here and now. So, hey, like, we're talking about a certain move. Well, here, let's, like, you know, troubleshoot it. Like, even with me recording, I rarely like go back like while we're there on the mats. I think last week I did, because one of my buddies, he was trying to do something, he wanted to take a look. So it's like, okay, well, let's look at the specific moments, you know, and then okay, there we go. But other than that, it's just like, no. We're here in the moment right now. Screw those phones. Screw that outside world. Like, yeah, again, I don't care why Jessica's not talking to you. I mean, you know, like, maybe you're not Jessica's type. Did you consider that? Maybe, you know, maybe Jessica doesn't like, you know, a dude that goes and you know, gets stuck in a triangle every Thursday night.
Jessica won't respond to your DM because she could pass your guard sleeping, dog. Like, that's the issue. I promise you.
Yeah. Like, maybe, you know, get better guard retention. Jessica will call you back. Like, I promise you she will.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I guess in a world that's like vying for our attention, jiu-jitsu is one of the only places where you get to be truly present.
Yeah, but that is so very true. So very true. Want to ask real quick, one more, I guess, social media question in terms to you know, your online persona, and then a quick rapid fire before we get out of here.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So, as far as like your online content, like, what impact have you noticed since you started posting? Like, you know, like, whether it be in the training room, or like if you're out and about, you know, you're visiting another gym and someone may know, like, hey, Emmy, that's your page. You know, we picked this up from you.
I think the main thing that's been awesome for me is like getting to meet other ladies, higher rank, lower rank, doesn't really matter. Whenever they're like, oh, I follow you, I'm like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Let's please be friends. I would love to have connections with more jiu-jitsu women. Definitely also the little girls. The little girls are a big one, that are very motivating, you know, because we kind of look at the sport as a whole, and I think this generation of female black belts is really not only fighting to make a change, but like showing up in roles that is going to leave the landscape looking different no matter what. You know, back in the day, there wasn't that many female black belts, and there wasn't that very many female head instructors, and there wasn't women who were in charge of running, you know, tournaments and stuff like that. So I think we're lucky that the sport has progressed to a point where there's women that are in positions of leadership, and their impact is going to make it so that the next generation not only has a better opportunity, but that they just don't deal with a lot of the BS that a lot of women had to get past to even be, not substantial, but like even making it or swimming or keeping their head above water in this sport. I think that's one of the main things that I keep coming back to when it's like, why am I being visible? Why am I talking about this? Or why does this even matter? It all comes back to that every single time.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. At the end of the day, you're making an impact, and someone's going to pick up from it. You know, whether like I always think about like when I first started BJJ Wiki, and I get like 3 likes. It's like, oh, but one of those people that liked it went and reshared it, and then showed it to someone else and started talking about it. It's like, all it takes is one.
Yeah.
We live in such a weird society now where we have this ideal that, oh, you only got 50 likes. It's 50 people who saw it. Yeah. And out of those 50, maybe 10 shared it elsewhere, and all this other stuff. So I mean, 50 is still a big number, whereas like we have this ideal now where it's like it's got to get thousands of views and thousands of likes. No, man. Nah, an impact is an impact. It doesn't matter big or small, somebody gained, and that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I'd have to agree.
All right, so I'm gonna do a real quick rapid fire here with you before we get out of here. I'm gonna go with the basic one: gi or no gi?
No gi, all day, every day.
Oh, you sound like somebody that likes the wrist lock. I don't know. Whenever I hear no gi, I'm like, oh, heel hook or a wrist locker. Either way.
I love a heel hook. I heel hook. Yeah.
I knew it. You seem the type.
I need to go to Heel Hookers Anonymous, dude. It just is what it is,
It's like you just see, as soon as you see that foot dangling, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Bye ACL.
Yes.
Favorite position to teach?
Favorite position to teach? Ooh, probably mount. Mount or back. Yeah.
Submission that feels like, well, never mind. We already know. I don't even want to go there.
Wait. No. Maybe I'll have a fun answer for you.
Submission that feels like home for you.
Submission that feels like home. Probably something I did more as a white belt. I really liked arm bars. Like joint locks were always kind of like more appetizing to me for some reason. So I'm going to give you a very random answer that I really liked as a lower belt. When you go for the armbar, like the classic armbar from guard, and they pull out and you switch to that cigar cutter armbar, I'm going to say that one because that one always made me giddy.
Nice. Worst jiu-jitsu habit people don't realize they have?
Worst jiu-jitsu habit people don't realize they have? I mean, it's got to be something that like offends your senses. You know what I mean? Like stinky gi guy, or like stinky breath guy, or just like bad body odor guy. I think it's that guy, because a lot of other things can be corrected or forgiven, but like having to pull someone aside and be like, "You're stinky gi guy. We all go through it. You have to strip your gi," is not my favorite talk. That's not my favorite talk at all.
Oh yeah, that's one of those ones where it's like, again, I'm the sweaty guy at the gym, so I already know. It's like, look, as soon as I get home, no, it has to be clean, proper. So much so it's like I have multiple gis, but it's like I might wait a while. I might, like, let's go ahead and throw that bad boy in there again. Like, yeah, you got to strip those joints.
Yep.
And then last one, most controversial jiu-jitsu opinion that you hold.
Oh, most controversial jiu-jitsu opinion that I hold. Oh, okay. I might get hated on for this one, but that's okay. In the last CJI, a lot of people were pissed about the way the women's bracket payout was, but because I saw the way it broke down per match was equal, they were both 50K, one was just a bigger bracket, I didn't really see it as unfair. Like, it was still 50K per match, and 2 fights to win $100,000 is a huge win for women in jiu-jitsu. No matter what the
Mhm.
men's prize is, that statement of 2 fights to win $100,000 in women's jiu-jitsu, the rest of it, it was noise to me. It really didn't matter. Like, I felt like it was controversy just to have controversy. And I really like that format. And I hope we continue seeing different exciting jiu-jitsu tournament formats, specifically the John Wick style one. Have you seen that?
I have not.
Okay. I'm so excited we get to end on this. So there is a tournament in Washington. I want to say it's called Pit Boss Fighting. I want to say, and they have a John Wick tournament. They ran the first one where it's in a pit like CJI. They had a bunch of black belts. I don't think they did a weight class. You just had to be a black belt and you had to show up in a suit, like a jacket with a button down
Okay.
shirt and the pants. And after the regulation time period, if no one got a submission, they would throw in a fake gun or a fake knife. And if you could get at like stabbing or shooting that person, you would win. And I actually got to run like some John Wick style super fights, and it was awesome. It was so exciting. I really hope that we see different tournament formats like that. And I also absolutely love to jump in that. So Pit Boss, if you want a random wild card black belt, hit me up.
Actually, I have seen clips here and there as I just pulled it up. So, oh, I have seen this. I guess I never knew that that's what it was called, but that's awesome. I like that a lot.
So cool.
There's the John Wick Invitational. Oh, this is a full 2.5 hours. Uh-oh.
Isn't this amazing? I feel like this is kind of like when EBI first got popular. It's like this like new different format.
Yeah, it's great like that the sport's growing in that way where we're having inventive ways to put the content out there to draw
Yes.
eyes. I mean,
Yes.
that's a big thing this day and age, especially because, like you say, 10 years ago, people couldn't even say jujitsu. Now, I'm seeing commercials. There's like a commercial as a little kid. She's talking about
Yes.
like, her schedule is like, I have jujitsu tomorrow and da da da. And it's like,
Yep.
oh my God, that's in a commercial. My daughter, whenever she sees it, she gets excited. She's like, Dad, that girl's talking about jujitsu again. So,
Yep.
now we're at a point where it's like, okay, it's in the mainstream, to a degree where we have a lot of pro athletes doing it, a lot of actors, you
Yep.
know, training. So this is all good. So now we're seeing more content, being produced through it. The jiu-jitsu social media, community is amazing. Like it, I I open up my Instagram and it's just like I feel bad because I go to my messages. It's like I miss messages for weeks because it's like I didn't know because there's just so much going through. But that
Yeah.
just speaks to the growth of our community and everybody just being cool in it. So good for us. Yay. Um, well, Amy, this has been really, really cool. And I'm glad that we're able to get this turned around and record sooner rather than later. So thank you for this. Thank you for making the time.
Oh, thank you. I had such a great time chatting with you. I'm really happy to be on the show, so I appreciate it.
Well, good. Thank you. And I'd love to have you back on because, as I'm now, things like, oh my God, like I have other questions, but, we're running long here and I like to have like a little outline with the questions so that way I can like make sure I'm like, okay, was that the right question? So, but I got more questions. We'll do this again. We'll chat it up and have another good time.
That would be great. I would love to. Let's do that for sure.
Awesome. Before we get out of here, do you have any shout outs or mentions you'd like to leave the listeners with today?
Yeah, let me think. I definitely want to shout out a newer sponsor that I'm really, really passionate about. It's called Hair Strong Band. I have crazy, long, thick Asian hair, and this is the only hair tie that will keep my hair out of my face for the crazy sparring positions that we do. So, big shout out to Hair Strong. I do have a code with them. You can use ME10 to save. And shout out to my husband. Shout out Krasashi Musashi. He's so great. He supports all my crazy ideas. And I also want to shout out two more people. I want to shout out Pace Combat. This is actually the first time I'm announcing this. I did design 2 different Nogi sets with them that will be dropping early next year. Very excited about that. I've never gotten to
Nice.
do a full Nogi set for another brand. I did one for Oasis Jiu-Jitsu Club, which was something that I ran a while ago. And then lastly, I want to shout out my homegirl Jody, who took first in her division at Nogi Worlds today, Miss Jody Shields. And she's running a women's jiu-jitsu camp early next year called Bodied. So if you're a heavyweight lady who wants to jump in on an amazing, amazing women's camp, which is, I want to say, January 11th. I want to say it's going to be 11/11. Check out Bodied Jiu-Jitsu.
Right. Awesome. I'll be sure to get links in the show notes and tag folks on that as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And as always, to you, all the listeners, thank you. If y'all have any questions, concerns, criticisms, anything, please feel free to reach out. You can always find me at bjj.wiki on Instagram and also Off the Mats Podcast as well on Instagram. I'd love to give a big shout out to my crew over there at Nerd Rage Radio: Bobby, Chris, Joe, Marilyn Phil, Ricky Ticky, Pharaoh, Chucky O. I know there's others. I don't have the mug up here with all their names, but thank you to those guys. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be doing the podcast. So thank you to the Nerd Rage Radio crew. I haven't been on in a while. I gotta find some time to get over there and see if I can get edited and blurred out again, because I always say something that they never let me know what's not appropriate to say this time around. So like now I'm just making it a contest. Every time I go in, it's like, what can I say now? And sure enough, it gets edited. I'm like, yes, Freak survives. I also want to shout out my other podcast. So you like horror? If you like scary movies, go check it out. We are going to be wrapping up 2025 with Black Christmas, as it's that time of year. And then we're going to head into 2026 with our new theme for the year, horror TV shows. So we're going to be talking about things like Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass, Mike Flanagan stuff. Love that guy. We have Welcome to Derry, which just, concluded over there on HBO Max. Maybe it's Netflix now. I don't know who owns it. Maybe Paramount owns them now. Who knows? But Welcome to Derry was fantastic. Castle Rock, we'll talk about that. Twilight Zone, Are You Afraid of the Dark? All these different things throughout the year we're going to be talking about. So if you're into scary movies, scary content, creepy content, go check it out. So You Like Horror. Wherever you listen to this podcast, it's probably there. So go give it a listen. And also, if you want to follow on Instagram, So You Like Horror, all the words separated by underscores. And then last but not least, I'd like to thank my guest here today, Miss Emmy Miller. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your experience, and I can't wait to have you back on and chat again. And as always, again, to you guys, the listeners, again, and again, we love you all. Thank you. You all know what it is. You guys keep listening, and we're going to definitely keep making these shows. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
Bye.
Deep with it. Now let me sing a song.